Hello students, this video is going to give you a quick overview on how to do an independent t-test. This can be used to test a number of your hypotheses, and what it really looks at is differences between two groups. For more information on this t-test and how to write it up properly in your results sections, please consult the Module 2 Chapter 4 PowerPoints and any PowerPoints covering statistics beyond them. So let's get started. In front of me you see I have the FITD data set that we collected that's up on the website. So right now I'm looking at the variable view. This is the data view, and you can see all the information is here. What we're going to want to do is we're going to go up here to Analyze, come down to Compare Means, and then click on the Independent Samples t-test. And that's going to bring up this box. Usually it's going to be much smaller, something like this. I like to stretch mine out because it gives you a little more information. Clear this out so I can walk you through it. So here we have all our variables by names. Sometimes this gets really long. You can see this. You see these are all the actual questions. So one way to deal with that is you just right-click it, and right now it's displaying by labels, and you want to have it display by names. And now you'll see it's the names that each label is labeled as. So when you're doing a t-test, what you're really doing is just comparing the mean of two groups to see if there's a significant difference between those two groups. So what we want to look at in this specific t-test is we're going to look to see if there's a difference in whether or not the responses between the FITD and the DTIF conditions were different. So for our grouping variable, we're going to make our condition. If you recall, we have three conditions, a DITF, a FITD, and a control. So we're going to have to define these, and since we're looking at the foot in the door and door in the face, those are our conditions 1 and conditions 2. You can find this by going to variable view and looking at the values for what the condition is. By that, you can go over here to variable view, you click down here in the bottom left hand corner, you go to whatever variable we're looking at condition, and you can look at what the values mean. So if you pull this up, you will see that a value in condition 1, a 1 means that they were in condition 1, a 2 means they're in condition 2, and a 3 means they're in condition 3. So, back to our t-test. So, what we're going to do is we're going to bring over our condition to our grouping variable, because we're going to look at the differences between groups. Now we have to define those groups. In order to do that, we click on this Define Groups button, and this is going to pull this up. Now we're going to use specific values because, as I just showed you, we have specific values denoting what each group is. And we're looking at the difference between foot in the door and door in the face. So group 1 will be 1 and group 2 will be group 2. So we'll continue there. So we're going to look at whether or not door in the face or foot in the door affected your participants' willingness to participate in the survey. And that's question 1. Now if you look here, I kind of have it highlighted on the top. You see oral 1 is the oral phase, the participant's willingness to participate in the subject. So we'll bring that over here as our test variable. We'll look at our options real fast to make sure there's nothing else we want to add to this analysis before we get into it. So we click the options button, that's going to bring this up. This is fine with us at 95%, and we also want to exclude case analyses by analyses. And all this means is if there's a piece of missing data, it'll exclude all the data from that specific participant as to not bias the data. So just make sure that this top one's clicked and this is 95. This bootstrap option, I'll open it real fast. This has nothing for you. Don't even worry about it. Please don't click that. It'll just confuse you and push out additional information you don't need. So really you don't even need to worry about it. Once we have this set up, so once we have our condition, our grouping variables, so we have two groups defined and we want to know what variable is different, or if a variable is different between those two groups, we can go ahead and hit OK. Now this is going to bring up this output menu, and you're going to see two boxes. Your first are the statistics. This is going to show you the means of both groups. So we had 47 in condition 1 and 48 in condition 2. The mean responses according to our oral phase, so you can say it was much higher in condition 1 than it was in condition 2. And then some descriptive statistics, like what the standard deviation is. If you remember what a standard deviation is from your statistics class, this is the standard deviation for this particular data set for this particular condition, and the standard error of mean. But what we really want to look at is the second box, which is your independent samples t-test. Now I know that it looks like there's a lot of information here, but what we're really focused on, and you can again read about this in your PowerPoint notes for more clarification, is this section right here. What we're really looking for is the first thing we're going to look for is if it's significant, and we're looking for a number that's lower than 0.05, and that's our threshold for significance. So if this is lower than 0.05, we can then assume that there's a significant difference between condition 1 and condition 2. And the strength of that difference is reflected by our t-score. So, if you consult the PowerPoint notes, you'll be using both your t-score, your degree of freedom, and your significance tests to report that there are differences in these groups. So that is how to conduct a very simple independent t-test, looking for differences across groups. Thank you.